right, well, you guys, I am so excited to be here. And I am going to be sharing with you a lot of stories from all over the world today. But the first story that I'm going to share with you comes from one of my favorite places in the world, and that is the continent of Africa. That's right. And this is a famous story that's told all across the continent. And it's about a tiny little hare. Now, I'm not talking about this hare. I'm talking about the animal, the hare. Does anybody know what kind of an animal that is? Yes.
It's kind of like a bunny.
Yes, it's kind of like a rabbit, exactly. So this was a tiny little hare who loved to hop here and there and everywhere. Now, I'm going to need some help today. I'm wondering if there's anybody out there that feels like helping me to be you feel like a tiny little hare? You do? All right, hop on up here, hop on up here. Give him a nice round of applause. Hop, 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 hop. Very good, very good. And your name is?
Kyle.
Kyle, okay. Kyle, there's one little problem here. All right, do a little circle. Let me see you turn around there. Yeah, okay, keep going. Okay, that's good. You can stop now. All right, you know what? This is going to be great. I'm glad you volunteered, except for the fact that you do not have long enough ears to be this character. So I'm going to help you out, okay? Wait right there. I'm just going to put these on you. Is that okay with you? All right, great. Very good. All right. So on the count of 3, I want all of you to greet our hare over here. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, hare.
Nice job. Although, I forgot another thing I want to tell you guys. That's this. Okay? Here on the continent of Africa, there are a lot of different languages spoken. And we're going to greet him in an African language. Now, one of the most commonly spoken languages in all of Africa is the language Swahili. And when you want to greet someone in Swahili, one of the ways you can do that is by saying Jambo. Let me hear you guys.
Jambo.
Very good. So on the count of 3, we're going to say Jambo hare. 1, 2, 3.
Jambo hare.
Great job. Go ahead, tell everybody Jambo.
Jambo.
Very good. Now every morning, Hare would wake up early. That's right. And he would start hopping around and searching for his breakfast. And every morning as he was searching for his breakfast, he would always run into Elephant. Now, Elephant was big. He had these humongous ears that he loved to flap in the breeze. He had these huge tree trunks for legs, and the thing he loved to do with his legs was to stomp them like this. Now let's see if I can find anybody out there that's feeling like helping me. You can show me by stomping your legs right where you are. That's right. That's how I'll know you're feeling like Elephant today. You feel like Elephant? All right, come on up here. Give her a nice round of applause. All right, and your name is?
Ava.
Ava. And today you're going to be Elephant, all right? All right, but let me see here. Yeah, your ears are not going to cut this. I can't even see them, but I know that they're not big enough to be an elephant. So wait right there, okay? Ah, yes. I'm just going to put this on you, okay? Perfect. All right. Very good. All right. Now go ahead and show everybody how you can stomp. Go ahead, show them. Very good, very good. Now on the count of 3, we're all going to greet Elephant. We're going to say Jambo Elephant. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Jambo Elephant.
Great job. Now, Elephant, I'm going to have you stand right over here for me, all right? Now, every time Hare would run into Elephant, he was a happy and friendly little hare. He was very courteous, so he would always greet her. And he would say, Jambo, Sister Elephant.
Jambo, Sister Elephant.
Very good. Now, it wasn't because they were related or anything. It was just because that was a really friendly and nice way to greet somebody in this part of the world. Now, whenever he would do that, Elephant, she thought to herself, I don't have time for tiny little creatures like him. She would totally ignore him. That's right. And she would turn her back. Very good. So he thought, maybe she didn't hear me the first time. Perhaps I'll get a little bit louder. So on the count of 3, you know what to say. Jambo, Sister Elephant, as loud as you can. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Jambo, Sister Elephant.
Well, there was no ignoring him now, so she turned around and she said, is that you, Hare?
Is that you, Hare?
What do you want?
What do you want?
And he said to her, oh, I'm just trying to be friendly.
I'm just trying to be friendly.
She said, I don't have time for little runts like you.
I don't have time for little runs like you.
Now hop along.
Hop along.
Unless you want to be stomped.
Unless you want to be stomped.
And she would start to stomp her gigantic legs. That's right. And as she did, the ground down below, it started to shake. And the little animals that lived on the ground, they began to tremble. Let's see them all trembling out there. Very good. And Hare, step on up there. He was trembling too. That's right. Very good. And you see, on any other day, Hare would have hopped away in fear. But you know what he said? Not today. I am tired of being picked on. It's time for me to put my paw down and do something about it. And so, because he was a very, very intelligent little hare, he happened to get a wonderful idea. You see, he saw this vine that was snaking across the ground, and he said, I know just what to do with this. And so, he looked up at the elephant and he said, Oh, mighty elephant,
Oh, mighty elephant.
I see how strong you are.
I see how strong you are.
Still, I don't think you're as strong as me.
Still, I don't think you're as strong as me.
Not when it comes to tug of war.
Not when it comes to tug of war.
That's right, and he started to flex his muscles. That's right. And Elephant started to laugh. She said, she lost her head in the process. She was laughing so hard. She took a step forward and she said, You call those muscles?
You call those muscles?
I have more muscles
I have more muscles.
in the tip of my trunk
In the tip of my trunk.
than you have in your entire body.
Than you have in your entire body.
You think you can beat me at tug of war?
You think you can beat me at tug of war?
I'd like to see you try.
I'd like to see you try.
And Hare said, Great.
Great.
So he picked up that vine that he saw, and he handed one end to the elephant. And he said, Here, I want you to tie this to the tip of your trunk.
Tie that to the tip of your trunk.
I'll tie the other end to my little body.
I'll tie the other end on my body.
When I say go,
When I say go,
you pull as hard as you can toward the forest.
you pull as hard as you can to the forest.
And I'll pull as hard as I can toward the river.
I'll pull as hard as I can to the river.
And whoever pulls the hardest is the strongest.
And whoever pulls to the farthest is the hardest.
That's right, the very strongest. And he said, Go on, let's give it a try.
Come on, let's give it a try.
Well, Elephant said, Ha, good luck.
Ha! Good luck.
And so, this is what happened. Hare, he took his end and he started to hop off and said, Now wait for the call of go. So, Elephant, she had a seat and waited for him to get on his area down toward the river. Well, he was hopping along. And as he was hopping along, he ran into somebody. The same person that he always ran into when he was going to get a drink of water. This was Rhino. Now, Rhino was also really big and strong. Rhino also had humongous legs and this big nose, or I guess it was a horn that came sticking out of his nose. And Rhino's favorite thing to do was to roll in the mud. So if you feel like helping me to be Rhino today, you can show me by rolling like this in the mud. That's right. Oh my goodness, look at all these rhinos out there. Do you feel like Rhino right here? You do? All right, come on up here. Really nice job. And your name is? Matthew. But today you're feeling like a rhino, is that right? All right, go ahead and show everybody. Very good. Nice work. Now, Rhino, you're going to be a little bit different than Hare and Elephant, okay? I'm going to help you out here, though. Right. You are just going to have to put your hand in here for me, all right, to turn into Rhino. There you go. Got it? Perfect. All right. And then here, I'm going to have you switch places. All right, you stand right here. And Rhino, you come on and stand right over here for me. Very good. And on the count of 3, we're all going to say Jumbo Rhino. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Jumbo Rhino!
Good job. Can you say Jumbo?
Jumbo.
Very good. Now, of course, Hare, every morning when he would see Rhino, he would always greet him, and it was no different today. He said, Jumbo, Brother Rhino.
Jumbo, Brother Rhino.
And he said, I don't have time for him. And so he completely turned his back on him.
I don't have time for that.
That's right. And he totally ignored him, thinking that he was so big and important. Well, of course, Hare thought, maybe he didn't hear me the first time. I'm going to get a little bit louder. So on the count of 3, you know what to say. Jumbo, Brother Rhino. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Jumbo, Brother Rhino!
Well, there was no ignoring him this time. He turned around and he said, Hare,
Hare,
is that you?
is that you?
What do you want?
What do you want?
Why don't you just hop along?
Why don't you just hop along?
Unless you want to be crushed.
Unless you want to be crushed.
And then he started to roll back and forth like this. And as he rolled, the ground down below, it started to shake. And all the tiny little animals, they started to tremble. There they go trembling. And Hare trembled too, that's right. And on any other day, he would have hopped away in fear. But you already know that he was not going to hop away in fear today. Oh no, because he'd already decided to put his paw down. He was going to do something about being picked on. And so he looked at that rhino and he said, Oh, mighty rhino,
Oh, mighty rhino.
I see how strong you are.
I see how strong you are.
Still, I don't think you're as strong as me.
Still, I don't think you're as strong as me.
Not when it comes to tug of war.
Not when it comes to tug of war.
And he started to flex his muscles. That's right. And Rhino looked at him. He said, ha, you call those muscles?
Do you call those muscles?
I've got more muscles
I've got more muscles.
in the tip of my horn
The tip of my horn.
than you've got in your entire body.
Then you got in your entire body.
Now we have to pause for just a second so I can let you know something. Hare was too polite to interrupt. But you see, there are actually no muscles in Rhino's horn because his horn is entirely made out of bone, meaning no muscle in there. But like I said, Hare just let him keep on going. And so Rhino said, you think you can beat me at tug of war?
Do you think you could beat me at tug of war?
I'd like to see you try.
I'd like to see you try.
And Hare said, great.
Great.
So he handed Rhino one end of that vine. And he said, here,
Here,
tie this to the tip of your horn.
tie this to the tip of your horn.
I'll tie the other end to my little body.
I'll tie the little end to my body.
When I say go,
When I say go,
you pull as hard as you can toward the river,
you pull as hard as you can to the river.
and I'll pull as hard as I can toward the forest.
And I'll pull as hard as I can to the forest.
And whoever pulls the hardest
And whoever pulls the hardest
is the strongest.
is the strongest.
They'll be the winner.
They'll be the winner.
And Rhino started to laugh.
Ha ha
He
ha.
said, you don't stand a chance.
You don't stand a chance.
And Hare said, good luck.
Good luck.
And Rhino sat down. He was going to wait for the call of go. Go ahead and sit down right there for me a second, Rhino. There you go. Now, Hare, he started hopping off. But he did not hop off to the forest like he told Rhino. And he did not hop off to the river like he told Elephant. Oh, no. He hopped off to a spot right in between. A place that had a lot of tall grasses. A place where he could get a very nice view of the tug of war that he had set up between the elephant and the rhino. So I'm going to have you stand right behind this chair, over here like you're hiding here, all right? Now, when he was back there, and he was sure that nobody could see him, in his loudest voice, he called out, go!
Go.
Well, Elephant, with those big ears, she was the first one to hear the call. She stood up, and she gave a tug on the rope. Now, she didn't tug too hard because she thought, it's just a tiny little hare. I don't need to use all my strength. Now, all of you guys on this side of the room, you're going to be on Team Elephant, okay? So when I point at you, you're going to help Elephant to tug. And you're kind of going to tug like you're pirates. You're going to say, arr! Let me hear you. Arr! Good job, good job. Now this time, just a tiny little tug on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Arr! Good job. Now, Rhino. When he heard the call of go, he stood up immediately. It was just a little bit after Elephant. And he, too, gave a tiny little tug on the rope because he thought to himself, I'm not going to need to use all my strength. That's just a tiny little hare. And so he tugged like this, saying, ugh. That's right. Everybody on this side of the room, you guys are going to be on Team Rhino. So on the count of 3, you're going to give a tiny tug saying, ugh. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ugh. Very good. Now, when Elephant felt that return tug, she said, perhaps I have underestimated
Perhaps I have underestimated
that hare's strength.
that hare's strength.
I'm going to have to tug a little bit harder.
I'm going to have to tug a little bit harder.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Now, when Rhino felt that return tug, he said, perhaps I have underestimated hare's strength.
Perhaps I've underestimated hare's strength.
I'm going to have to give a little bit of a greater tug. Are you guys ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Great. Now, back and forth they went, tugging all morning. Watch me. Now, pretty soon, both Elephant and Rhino were starting to feel really worn out because they were both very strong and exerting as much strength as they possibly could. Still, neither one of them, as lazy as they were, wanted to give up because they did not want to lose to a tiny little hare. So all afternoon, they continued tugging like this, and they got louder and louder. Neither one of them had any strength left. They both dropped the rope and they threw their hands up in the air and said, I surrender.
I surrender.
Now you see, there had been so much tension in that vine rope. They had stretched it so tight that it was almost like a spring. And when they let it go, it came tumbling towards one another. That's right. Very good. They came tumbling towards one another. Very good. And they were still both shouting, "I surrender!
I surrender.
Now, Elephant looked at Rhino and said, "What are you surrendering about?"
What are you surrendering about?
Now, Rhino was really, really embarrassed to admit it, but he said, I was having a tug of war
I was having a tug of war
with hair.
with hair.
And Elephant said, "No,
No.
I was having a tug of war with hair."
No, I was having a tug of war with hair.
And he said, "No, I was."
No, I was. No, I was.
No, I was.
No, I was.
No, I was.
I was.
I was.
I was.
I was.
And you see, another tug of war ensued, only this time it was with words. Well, pretty soon, all the tiny little animals that were down on the ground, they started to laugh. Elephant looked out at all the animals and said, "What's so funny?"
What's so funny?
And they said, "Actually, neither one of you were having a tug of war with hair. You were having a tug of war with each other." Well, when they heard that, they were both shocked and very, very amazed. Go ahead, show them how shocked you both are. That's right. And then they realized what had happened, because who should come hopping out from behind those tall grasses? None other than Hare. That's right. He had not even broken a sweat, and yet somehow he had still managed to win the tug of war. Go ahead, hop up a little bit further there. Excellent job. Now, from that day forward, whenever Elephant or Rhino would see Hare, they were always quick to greet him, saying, "Jumbo, brother Hare."
Jumbo hair.
That's right, and all the other animals said the same. Jumbo, brother Hare. For on that day they learned a very important lesson. Sometimes the greatest muscle that you can flex is your brain. That's right. Give the elephant a nice round of applause over there. Thank you. A nice round of applause for Rhino. Thank you, Rhino. You did a great job. And last, but certainly not least, a nice round of applause for Harold. And now, just to avoid any confusion, I have to let you in on one other little secret, all right? Your brain, it's not actually a muscle, it's actually one of your organs. However, scientists have studied your brain and they've learned something very interesting. They've learned that the brain, it works a lot like a muscle. And that means that the more that you flex it, or the more that you use it, the stronger that it gets. And so one way that you can continue flexing that brain muscle of yours is by continuing to read and listen to stories like you're doing right now. And that, of course, is the story of the great tug of war from the continent of Africa. Excellent job.